Okay, so good morning again. Uh, Welcome back to our lecture. So this is the part 2 of our previous lecture on Criminal Law Book 2. So this lecture is made for the benefit of my students in Urdaneta City University, as well as for my student in Lyceum Northwestern University Urdaneta campus. This lecture uh, will also be a good help to my cadets in Philippine Military Academy in their future studies. Okay, so if you notice, our topic or our lecture for this morning is just a selected topics in Criminal Law Book 2. Yes, because I will be discussing the important articles that are usually being asked in your board exam. Okay, so without much further ado, we'll now proceed to our lecture. So, uh, in Article 262 of the Revised Penal Code, it says there mutilation. So, we have two kinds of mutilation. First, number one is the intentionally mutilating another by depriving him, totally or partially, of some essential organ for reproduction. Okay, so emphasize natin class, essential organ, no? Essential organ for reproduction. Number two, it is the intentionally making another mutilation, like lopping, clipping off any part of the body of the offended party other than the essential organ for reproduction to deprive him of that part of the body. So class, meron tayo dito. Number one is the intentionally mutilating another by depriving him totally or partially of some organ for reproduction. Okay, so I know, alam niyo naman siguro yung mga organ for reproduction sa male at saka sa female. Number two, ito naman, intentionally mutilating or lopping or clipping off any part of the body, no? Other than essential organ for reproduction such as yung tenga, di ba? Tenga, tatanggalin yan, lalaplapin yan. O kaya usually yung iba, yung sa breast, di ba? Tinatanggal yan. O kaya sa daliri, no? Daliri. Usually sa mga ginagawa yan, sa mga pag tino-torture yung victim, di ba? Minsan na tatanggalin yung tenga mo o kaya yung ngipin mo, tatanggalan yan, no? So those are kinds of mutilation. Okay. Now let's take a look at its elements. Number one, that there be a castration. Ano ba ang castration? The mutilation of organs necessary for generation. Okay, for example, sa male, no? Puputulin, tatanggalin yung penis. Okay? Number two, mutilation is caused purposely and deliberately. Ibig sabihin, class, with intent, no? May intention, may purpose, o kaya deliberately na gusto talagang tanggalin yung reproductive organ. Usually sa mga babaerong asawa daw, ano? So si Mrs. pag makitang tulog si Mister, kukuha nung alam niyo ba class yung malaking gunting na pinanggugunting ng damo, no? So usually I don't know sa mga palabas kasi ganun yung pinapakita nila. Okay, so take down notes class. Mutilation is the lopping or clipping off of some part of the body. So the intent to deliberately cut off the particular part of the body that was removed from the offended party must be established. So dapat class, pag nagpe-represent ka na sa court, no, dapat mi-establish mo na talagang natanggal, talagang naputol, o talagang nawala yung that part of that body for it to become mutilation. So, However, if there is no intent to deprive the victim of a particular part of the body, the crime is only serious physical injuries. For example, na, na hindi naman sinasadya na natanggal yung tenga mo, di ba? Hindi sinasadya natanggal yung tenga mo habang inaahitan ka, nagpagupit ka, natanggal, o kaya ginugupitan ka, biglang naisama yung tenga mo, no? Hindi naman class mutilation yun, no? So, that would only fall under serious physical injuries. So, the common mistake is to associate this with the reproductive organs only. Mutilation includes any part of the human body that is not susceptible to grow again. Okay. So, di naman parang sa butik yan eh. Pagputulin mo yung buntot, after how many days, after how many months, how many weeks, tutubo, no? Pero pag natanggal na yung tenga mo, matanggal na yung daliri mo, pinutol yung daliri mo, hindi natutubo yan. Lalong-lalo na class, yung sa reproductive organ ng lalaki. So, if what was cut off was a reproductive organ, the penalty is much higher than that for homicide. Okay. So, sabi rito class, pag ang na-mutilate, pag ang tinanggal is yung reproductive organ, no? Mas mataas daw ang kanyang sentensya. So, class, kung mapapansin ninyo, ang usually naman na tinutukoy, di ba? Kasi doon naman sa organ ng babae, wala puputulin dun sa organ ng babae, di ba? Usually, I think this article is referring to the reproductive organ of a male person. This cannot be committed through criminal negligence. So, in the first kind of mutilation, the castration must be made purposely. So, dapat mayroon kang purpose. May dahilan ka, bakit mo pinutol. Otherwise, it will be considered as mutilation of the second kind. Okay, ano ba itong mayhem? Pag sinabing mayhem class, it is almost the same, no? Refers to any other intentional mutilation. Usually, yung dila, di ba? Pag pinuputol, tinatanggal na yan para hindi ka na daw makapagsalita, okay? So, let's proceed to Article 263 or the serious physical injuries. Paano ba class nakukumit ang serious physical injuries? Number 1, wounding, yung sugat mo. Beating, assaulting, binubugbog mo, no? Binubugbog mo, sinasapak mo, beating and assaulting. Or administering injurious substances. Okay. In one case, the accused, while conversing with the offended party, drew the latter's bolo from its scabbard. So, alam niyo naman ang bolo, di ba? May lagayan yan. So, binunot daw niya yung bolo. The offended party caught hold of the edge of the bolo, of the blade of his bolo. So, nung siguro, man tatagain na, ginanya niya siguro. Nahawakan niya yung bolo, no? Nahawakan niya. And wounded himself. Siyempre, natural, no? Hinawakan mo yung talim eh. Masusugat ka talaga. It was held that since the accused did not wound, beat, or assault the offended party, he cannot be held guilty of serious physical injuries. So what are serious physical injuries? Number 1, injured person becomes insane, imbecile, impotent, or blind. Insane, nasirang ulo, imbecile, yung nagkaroon ng epekto sa pag-iisip, impotent, no, hindi na nakapag-anak, or blind, nabulag. The injured or another instance, injured person loses the use of speech or the power to hear or to smell, loses an eye, a hand, foot, arm, or leg, or loses the use of any such member. Letter C, becomes incapacitated for the work in which he had been engaging. Okay, for example, pag yung tao hindi na nakapagsalita dahil doon sa dahil sa ginawa niyang beating or assaulting o kaya sa ginawa niyang pagsugat sa iyo, no? Hindi na siya nakasalita, hindi na siya nakarinig, wala na siyang pang-amoy, nawala isang mata niya, nawala yung kamay niya, paa, no? Then that would tantamount to serious physical injuries. O kaya, for example, yung isang pianista, di ba? Yung nagpipiano. O kaya yung naggigitara, yun ang kanyang hanap buhay, no? Sa banda, for example, binugbog yung vokalista, hindi na tuloy makapagkanta. Then, yan yung sinasabi natin na serious physical injuries. O kaya yung drummer nila, di ba? Yan lang yung kanyang hanap buhay, yung pagda-drums. Naputol yung kanyang kamay dahil binugbog siya. Hindi na siya makatrabaho, nawala na yung hanap buhay niya. Serious physical injuries. Number 3, the injured person becomes deformed. For example, yung mukha nung yung gwapong mukha, for example ni Pedro, nung binugbog, ayun, basag yung mukha, hindi na maipinta ngayon yung kanyang mukha. Okay. Letter B, loses any other member of his body. Letter C, loses the use thereof. Letter D, becomes ill or incapacitated for the performance of the work in which he had been habitually engaged in for more than 90 days. Number 4, injured person becomes ill or incapacitated for labor for more than 30 days but not more than 90 days. The crime of physical injuries is a crime of result. Bakit? Because under our laws, the crime of physical injuries is based on the gravity of the injury sustained. So binabase kasi, no, doon sa na-sustain mo na injury, no? Hindi naman sa kung ilang black eye ang meron ka, kung ilang sampal yung inabot mo, kung ilang sipa, hindi naman sa ganun, no? Pero uh, the gravity of the injury that you have sustained. For example, hindi ka nga nakapagtrabaho ng ilang araw o kaya ah, hindi ka ah, hindi ka nakatayo, hindi ka nakapagsalita dahil ah, dun sa pinsalang ibinigay sa'yo. So this crime is always consummated. The reason why there is no attempted or frustrated physical injuries is because the crime of physical injuries is determined on the gravity of the injury. Okay, so for example, sinampal ka, okay, sinuntok ka, may black eye ka. Kinabukasan, siyempre, siguro kaya mo pa naman magtrabaho, kaya mo pa namang pumasok sa school, kaya mo pa namang pumasok sa trabaho. Okay, so ibig sabihin, kahit isang suntok lang, no, that is still consummated. However, kung nasalo mo, kuya, sinalo mo lahat ng suntok o kaya ng sampal ng kalaban mo at sabi ng doktor, nako, kailangan pa natin ng 1 month, no? Bago gumaling yung mga sugat mo, bago gumaling yung mga black eye mo. So that would fall maybe under serious physical injuries or slight serious physical injuries. As long as the injury is not there can be no attempted or frustrated stage thereof. Serious physical injuries may be committed through reckless imprudence or simple imprudence. For example, you are walking or you are crossing the street or the road. For example, dyan sa school ninyo, tatawid kayo dun sa kalsada, may bibiling kayo, for example, sa kabilang side. Then, hindi nyo napansin, may dumaragasang tricycle or motor, nabangga kayo. Okay, so luckily, buhay kayo. But you sustained broken ribs, nabali yung nabaling elbow ninyo, wasak ang mukha niyo, for example, but you're still alive, no? That could fall under serious physical injuries, no? So, pwede mangyari ito. Reckless imprudence resulting to serious physical injuries, no? Reckless imprudence resulting to serious physical injuries. Bakit reckless? Ibig sabihin, there is no intent on the part of the driver of the tricycle to hurt you, no? Yun nga lang, class, maybe he's driving his tricycle or motorcycle at 90 kilometers per hour in a 30 kilometers per hour street, no? So, bakit nagdadrive kasi ng ganong kabilis doon sa kalye na alam niyang maraming tao? So, he is imprudent or negligent doon sa pagkakataong iyon. So, uh, serious physical injuries may be committed through imprudence, reckless imprudence, or simple imprudence. Class take note that in serious physical injuries, there must be no intent to kill. Kasi if you have the intent to kill, no? And for example, binugbog mo yung tao, binugbog mo, then wala ka namang purpose na patayin yung tao, then pwede siya sa physical injuries. However, binugbog mo yung tao kasi gusto mong may galit ka, gusto mong mawala na siya sa mundo, no? Pero nabuhay siya. Nabuhay siya, hindi mo alam na siya palang buhay, no? Binugbog mo, tinadyakan mo, pinalo-palo mo, pero nabuhay siya, no? You have the intent to kill. The crime of frustrated homicide will take place, no? Frustrated homicide. Kasi nga, may intent to kill ka, pero hindi mo napatay yung tao. So that could fall under frustrated homicide or frustrated murder. Okay. So we have here a question and answer. The offender threw acid on the face of the offended party. So, tinapunan daw ng acid doon sa mukha ng kalaban niya siguro. Were it not for timely medical attention, a deformity would have been produced on the face of the victim. So, ibig sabihin, class, tinapunan siya. So, alam niyo naman siguro ang epekto ng asido, no? Pag sinapuyan ng asido, pwedeng ma-deform yung mukha, no? Baka magmukha kang Poki pag nasabuyan ka ng asido. After the plastic surgery, so nagpa-plastic surgery pala yung biktima. The offended party was more handsome. Ba, siguro nung bago siya nasabuyan ng asido, baka yung mukha niya is only a mother could love, no? Pero nung siya ay pa-plastic surgery na, siguro baka naging kamukha na siya ni Daniel. Ay, wag yun. Hindi daw siya faithful. Sige, si Coco Martin na lang. Yan. So, what crime was committed? So, second question, in what stage was it committed? So, the crime is serious physical injuries. Because the problem itself states that the injury would have produced a deformity. So, the fact that the plastic surgery removed the deformity is immaterial, no? Because in law, what is considered is not the artificial treatment but the natural healing process. Okay, for example, sinabuyan ka ng asido, no? Sa mukha mo. So, tinakpan mo ng kamay mo. Hindi mo na tinanggal yung kamay mo hanggang sa nakarating ka sa hospital, no? So, nobody saw your face when it was uh, tawag dito, nung nababad na sa asido, no? Only the doctor nakakita ng mukha mo. So, after sabihin natin 6 months, after 6 months, no? Hindi na ikaw makilala, no? Kasi napakagwapo mo na. So, ang tanong, meron pa bang physical injuries doon? Eh, hindi naman nasira yung mukha mo. Gumwapo ka pa. Sabi dito sa ating answer class, no? Meron pa rin. The crime of serious physical injury is committed, no? Sabi nga rito, the fact that the plastic surgery removed the deformity is immaterial. Hindi mahalaga 'yon, no? Kahit na natanggal ng plastic surgery yung deformity ng mukha mo, hindi daw mahalaga 'yon, hindi daw importante. Because sa ating batas, what is considered is not the artificial treatment but the natural healing process. Okay. In a case decided by the Supreme Court, accused was charged with serious physical injuries because the injuries produced a scar. So he was convicted under Article 263. So he appealed because in the course of the trial, the scar disappeared. So it was held that the accused cannot be convicted of SPI he is only liable for slight physical injuries because the victim was not incapacitated. And there was no evidence that the medical treatment lasted for more than 9 days. So doon kasi rin tinitignan class ah, kung doon sa injury that you have sustained, you are unable to perform your work, o kaya doon sa ah, panggagamot, doon sa medical treatment na kinakailangan mo mahaba-haba, no? Depende ang class kung sa SPI ba siya o sa serious physical injuries ba siya o kaya sa slight physical injuries siya magfo-fall. So, usually class, doon nyo ibabase, doon nyo rin titignan. Okay, so let's go now to rape. Article 266-8. So the Anti-Rape Law of 1997 or RA 8353 is now classified the crime of rape as crime against person. Kasi before the advent of this law, rape is a crime against chastity. So nung naipasa ang batas na ito, the crime of rape is already considered as crime against persons, which is incorporated into Title 8 of the RPC to be known as Chapter. So, what are the elements of rape? Rape is committed by a man who have carnal knowledge of a woman under any of the following circumstances. First, okay, so tignan natin. There must be or true force, threat, or intimidation. Pinuwersa mo, tinakot mo, intimidate mo para lang makipag-sexual intercourse sa'yo. Letter B, when the offended party is deprived of reason or otherwise unconscious. For example, may nakita kang babae, she was unconscious o kaya kahit lasing, no? Yung lasing nakita mo, then na pinagsamantalahan mo, that is also rape. Kahit na hindi siya nag-resist, kahit hindi siya nanlaban, pero she was unconscious when you rape her, that is considered as rape. Or letter C, by means of fraudulent machination or grave abuse of authority. Letter D, when the offended party is under what? Under 12 years of age or is demented. Ibig sabihin, no, pag yung babae is below 12 years old, 11 or 10, kahit na pumayag yan class, kahit pumayag yung batang babae na makipag-sexual intercourse sa'yo, that is still considered as rape. Kahit sabihin mo sa husgado, Your Honor, pumayag pa yung batang babae kasi prostitute siya, no, kahit na, no? That is still considered as rape. Next, even though none of the circumstances mentioned above be present. Next, number 2, by any person who, under any of the circumstances mentioned in part or in paragraph 1 hereof, shall commit any act of sexual assault. Ano bang sexual assault? Okay. By inserting, letter A, his penis into another person's mouth or anal orifice, or any instrument or object into the genital or anal orifice of another person. So class, remember, rape can be committed in two kinds. Okay, first is by rape by means of carnal knowledge, and number 2, rape by means of sexual assault. Okay, so ang rape ay nakukumit yan, no, sa dalawang klase. So sexual assault ay carnal knowledge, and with next is sexual assault. Okay. So let's take a look at this one. So ano ba yung dividing age in rape? So letter A, sabi rito, less than 7 years old. Usually class, nung meron pang ating death penalty, if you rape a woman, a girl, less than 7 years old, mandatory death penalty. Pero what happened to our death penalty? Okay, so lagi kong tinatanong yung class. Lagi ko yung madalas tanungin. sa mga estudyante ko, pati sa mga kadete ko sa PMA, no? Lagi ko sinasabi sa kanila na our death penalty is only suspended, not abolished, no? Paulit-ulit ko yan na tinatanong, paulit-ulit ko din yung sinasabi sa kanila that death penalty is only suspended and not abolished. Okay, so less than 12 years old is what we call as the statutory rape. So, pag nag-rape ka ng less than 12 years old, automatic. Ang tawag natin doon class ay statutory rape. If less than 18 years old and there is a relationship, no? Okay, uh, the father rape his own daughter, no? Usually, mandatory death din ang punishment yan. So, however, ngayon wala na ang death penalty. What will be the penalty? The penalty is reclusion perpetua. So, because of this amendment which reclassified rape as a crime against persons, an impossible crime may now be committed in case of rape. That is, if there is inherent impossibility of its accomplishment or on account of the employment of inadequate or ineffectual means. So, the case of People versus Orita laid a new doctrine in Philippine penal law. Insofar as the crime of rape is concerned, as it finally did away with frustrated rape and allowed only attempted rape and consummated rape to remain in our statute books. So, itong si People versus Orita class, no, sinasabi na wala crime ng frustrated rape. Okay? Walang crime ng frustrated rape. Kasi nga, uh, when the penis touches the okay, naidikit lang ng konti doon sa mons pubis ng babae, that is already considered as rape and no penetration is needed, no? There is no penetration needed. Rape kaagad yon. So, kaya dito kasi tinanggal na yung frustrated rape at attempted rape and consummated rape lamang. So, always remember that class that there is no frustrated rape. So, in rape cases, court must always be guided by the following principles. Number one, an accusation of rape can be made with facility. So, it is difficult to prove, but more difficult for the person accused, though innocent, to disprove. Number two, in view of the intrinsic nature of the crime, where only two persons are usually involved, the testimony of the complainant must be scrutinized with extreme caution. Siyempre, sa rape kasi usually, no, dalawang involved dyan, the male and the female, no? So, kapag tawag ito, kapag nagte-testify na yung biktima, yung babae, no, he or she must be scrutinized with extreme caution. No? So, kasi nga sabi dito, uh, napakahirap i-prove ang kaso ng rape. Number three, the evidence for the prosecution must stand or fall on its own merits and cannot be allowed to draw strength from the weaknesses of the evidence for the defense. So dapat class, the prosecution should not rely on the weakness of the evidence of the defense, no? Malakas man o mahina ang ang ebidensya ng defense sa panig ng defense, dapat yung evidence na ipepresenta ng prosecution ay mas malakas. Okay, so let's proceed to Article 267, kidnapping and serious illegal detention. So the elements, number one, offender is a private individual. Okay, so yung offender dito dapat private individual. Number two, he kidnaps or detains another or in any other manner deprives the latter of his liberty. Number 3, the act of detention or kidnapping must be illegal. Number 4, that in the commission of the offense, any of the following circumstances are present. Letter A, that the kidnapping detention lasts for more than 3 days. Letter B, that it is committed simulating public authority. Letter C, that any serious physical injuries are inflicted upon the person kidnapped or detained or threats to kill him are made. And letter D, that the person kidnapped or detained is a minor, female, or a public officer. Okay, so ito class, ito yung sabi pa rito, yung mayroon pang death penalty. So if the kidnapping is committed for the purpose of extorting ransom, either from the victim or from any other person, even if none of the aforementioned are present in the commission of the offense, or even if none of the circumstances are present. So, noong panahon kasi class, no meron pang death penalty, once you kidnap a person at nagdemand ka ng ransom, death penalty kaagad yun. Kaya kung maalala ninyo, meron pa yung tinatawag natin na kidnap for ransom, di ba? Kidnap for ransom. Kidnapping was rampant before, no? Usually mga Chinese yung mga kinikidnap nila, no? Mga Chinese. So, ewan ko bakit mga Chinese ang kinikidnap nila. Maybe mayaman sila. But when these kidnappers were liquidated, no? Namatay, tawag dito, nakulong. Yung iba nakulong, yung iba they were killed in a police operation, no? So, bumaba na yung bilang ng kidnapping. So, remember class, remember the elements, no? The offender is private individual. Kasi pag public officer ang nag-commit ng detention or ng kidnapping, it would fall under arbitrary detention, no? Pag public officer ang nag-commit ng kidnapping or ng detention, that is arbitrary detention. Kapag private individual ang nag-commit ng kidnapping or ng detention, no, that is kidnapping or serious illegal detention. So yung class yung pinagkaiba. So baka tanungin yan sa inyong board exam in the future. Tanungin yan dun sa inyong multiple choice, no? Alam niyo na kung ano ang pinagkaiba ng dalawa. So, nagiging serious lamang class ang kidnapping o ang illegal detention pag present yung doon sa number 4, yung A, B, C, and D, no? Pag nag-last ng 3 days, o kaya pag nagpakilala ka na you are holding public authority, o kaya any serious physical injuries are inflicted doon sa biktima, o kaya tinakot mo, no? That is also serious illegal detention. O kaya pag ang kidnap mo ay isang minor de edad, babae, o kaya public officer, that would also tantamount to serious illegal detention. Okay, itong slight illegal detention naman, the offender is a private person also. Number 2, he kidnaps or detains another or in any other manner deprives him of his liberty, furnish place for the perpetration of the crime. Number 3, that the act of detention or kidnapping must be illegal, that the crime is committed without the attendant of any of the circumstances enumerated in Article 267. Ito yung apat na diniscuss natin kanina. Okay, so tingnan natin isa-isa. Offender is a private person. Kasi nga, pag public officer yan, no, that is arbitrary detention. Then you kidnap o kaya dinetain mo ang isang tao nang wala namang dahilan, no? Ibig sabihin ng na dinetain mo, kahit na for example, nasa isang malawak siya na isang bahay, no? Kahit nakakapaglakad-lakad siya dun sa bakuran, no? Nakapunta siya dun sa second floor, third floor, no? Pero hindi naman siya makalabas ng gate, no? Hindi naman siya makalabas ng gate, no? Ibig sabihin, na-deprive siya ng kanyang liberty. So that is still slight illegal detention. Take note class yung number 2, sabi dun, furnish place for the perpetuation of the crime. For example, ikaw ang may-ari nung bahay o yung safe house o yung lugar kung saan dinala yung biktima, then you are liable for slight illegal detention. Why? Because you furnished the place for the perpetuation of the crime. Number 3, that the act of detention or kidnapping must be illegal. So, syempre, if you don't have any reason, purpose, bakit mo dinitain or kinidnap yung tao, you are liable for slight illegal detention. Okay. So, if the offender voluntarily releases the persons who kidnap or detain within 3 days from the commencement of the detention, your penalty will mitigate, no? Letter B, without having attained the purpose intended o kaya before the institution of criminal proceeding against him, pinakawalan mo yung biktima mo, your penalty will mitigate. Kasi class, if you detain the person or the victim for more than 3 days, no? More than 3 days, that would fall under serious illegal detention na. Okay, so unlawful arrest. So, unlawful arrest, the elements are the following. Number 1, that the offender arrests or detains another person. Okay, so inaresto mo o kaya dinitain mo isang tao. The purpose of the offender is to deliver him to the proper authorities. So inaresto mo, dinitain mo, ang purpose mo is to deliver that person to the proper authorities, sa police, NBI, sa piskal. So okay, yun yung iyong purpose. However, the arrest or detention is not authorized by law, or there is no reasonable ground therefore. For example, inaresto mo si Pedro, dinitain mo siya, sabi mo, dadalhin mo sa police station o sa NBI, pero wala naman dahilan pala. Hindi naman siya nakapag-commit ng crime, o kaya wala naman siyang malalang sakit. Bakit mo siya dinitain o hinuli, di ba? That is unlawful arrest. So dito class, sa unlawful arrest, take note that the offender is any person. Okay. Any person, so it could be a public officer or private individual. The offender in this article can be a private individual or public officer. So in the latter case, the offender being a public officer has the authority to arrest and detain a person, but the arrest is made without legal grounds. For him to be punished under this article, the officer must make the arrest and detention without authority to do so, or without acting in his official capacity. Felony consists in making an arrest or detention without legal or reasonable ground for the purpose of delivering the offended party to the proper authorities. So, ito class, saka ka lang masasampahan class ng kaso ng unlawful arrest if you have arrested or you detain someone, no? And the purpose of the arrest or the detention is for you to deliver that person to the proper authorities. However, wala naman palang dahilan, o hindi naman nakapag-commit ng crime yung tao, no? So, you committed the crime of unlawful arrest. Okay, so Article 280, qualified trespass to dwelling. So, medyo pasensya na kayo sa aking video kasi medyo minsan dumidilim, minsan medyo lumiliwanag. Okay? So, the elements of qualified trespass to dwelling, ito yung sinasabi natin na trespassing. Di ba? Ito yung sinasabi natin na trespassing. Ano ba yung elements ng trespassing? Number 1, that the offender is a private person. 2, he enters the dwelling of another. 3, that such entrance is against the latter's will. Okay, so ito, imagine nyo na lang, sa bahay ninyo, bakuran ninyo, di ba? Okay, so may nakita kayo na isang tao biglang pumasok dun sa gate nyo, okay, nag-over the bakod. Cover the bakod siya. Tapos, papunta doon sa bahay, papunta doon sa isang part ng garden ninyo, no? Hindi nyo alam kung anong purpose niya. Ayaw rin niyang sabihin. Ngayon, pwede siyang makasuhan class ng trespassing. Why? Because that person entered the dwelling. And kahit na hindi kayo nag-resist, no? Kahit hindi kayo nag-resist doon sa pagpasok ng taong yon, no? Given na meron kayong bakod, kaya yun ang purpose ng bakod, di ba? Bakit kayo may bakod? Bakit kayo naglagay ng bakod? For it to prevent anyone from entering your property. Di ba? Yun ang purpose na. Kahit na hindi ka nag-resist, oh, hindi ka pwedeng pumasok dyan. Kahit na wala yung ganun na sinabi ninyo, no? Granting na meron kayong nilagay na bakod, no? For the purpose of preventing anyone from entering your property, no? That is still trespassing. Trespass to dwelling. Okay? So, ano ba itong dwelling kasi? What is this dwelling? So, dwelling is the place that a person inhabits. So, hindi naman usually na sarili mong bahay, no? Paano pag nagbo-board ka? Boarding house, di ba? Okay, nandun ka sa ah, isang condominium, okay, apartment. Kahit nga nandun kayo sa mga resort, di ba, sa mga hotel, no? That is still considered as dwelling. Okay? So it includes the dependencies which have interior communication with the house. So it is not necessary that it be the permanent dwelling. Okay, so hindi naman kinakailangan na permanent na yan na yung bahay mo, no? Eh, for example, nagbakasyon kayo sa Boracay, kumuha kayo ng isang kwarto, kumuha kayo ng isang kubo, for example, no? So, a person's room in a hotel may be considered a dwelling. O, tignan mo nga naman kung ano sinasabi ko, sinasabi din ng ating slide, no? It also includes a room where one resides as a boarder. O, see, kung ano yung sinabi din ng slide natin, no? Anyway, so what are the qualifying circumstances? So, if the offense is committed by means of violence or intimidation, the penalty is higher. So, nag-trespass ka, tapos may kasamang violence, may kasamang intimidation, eh, mataas ang parusa mo dyan. There must be an opposition to the entry of the accused. So, syempre, nag-o-oppose ka, nagre-resist ka. Kung papasok yun, kung papasok. If the entry is made by way not intended for entry, okay, dumaan sa bintana, dumaan sa bubong, dumaan sa ilalim, no? That is presumed to be against the will of the occupant. So it is not necessary that the offender entered through the door. Okay, so lack of permission to enter a dwelling does not amount to prohibition. So hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, hindi naman na nag-react yung tao, hindi naman nag-react yung occupant nung pumasok ako, so bakit ako trespassing? So hindi na kinakailangan na mag-react pa yung tao. Hindi na kailangan mag-react yung may-ari ng bahay para masabi natin na trespassing. Okay. So, Article 282, grave threats. So, pag sinabi natin grave threats, this is threatening another with the infliction upon his person, honor, or property, that of his family of any wrong, amounting to a crime and demanding money or imposing any other condition, even though not unlawful and the offender. Okay, so what are the elements of grave threats? That the offender threatens others. Okay, so tinakot mo. With the infliction upon the latter's person, honor, or property, or upon that of the latter's family of any wrong. So tinakot mo. Tinakot mo yung isang tao. And that such wrong amounts to a crime. Okay, so sabi natin, minura mo, PI ka, papatayin kita. Okay, mga ganun, no? So that is considered as grave threat. That there is a demand for money or that any other condition is imposed even though not unlawful. Okay, so may demand ka, no? So tinakot mo, tapos may tinakot mo that you're going to commit a crime, or going to inflict harm against the other person, then meron kang demand, and that the offender attains his purpose. Number two, by making such threat without the offender attaining his purpose. Number three, by threatening another with the infliction upon his person, honor, or property, that of his family, of any wrong to a crime, and the threat is without or is not subject to a condition. So once class na tinakot ka, no? For example, somewhere o may nakaaway kayo, meron kayo nakasagutan at once na tinakot kayo, o minura ka tapos sisirain ko yung motor mo o kaya susunugin ko yung bahay ninyo. Basta there is a threat which amounts to a crime that is already classed a grave threats. So, the elements that the offender threatens another person with the infliction upon the latter's person, honor, or property, or upon that of the latter's family of any wrong, that such wrong amounts to a crime, letter C, that the threat is not subject to a condition. Take note, class, that intimidation is an indispensable element of the crime of threat. So, syempre, tinakot ka and dahil dun sa pagtakot niya, you were intimidated, no? You were intimidated dun sa ginawa niyang pananakot sa'yo. The very essence of threat is to sow fear. Okay, so tinakot ka then dun sa sinabi niya sa'yo o dun sa pananakot niya sa'yo ay hindi ka nakatulog, hindi ka nakakain, no? Talagang natakot ka. Anxiety and insecurity in the mind of the offended party. Okay, hindi ka lumabas sa loob ng bahay for 1 month kasi nga natakot ka nung sinabi niya yung o kaya yung ikaw ay tinakot niya. It is done by threatening to commit the crime upon the person, honor, and property of the offended party. So there is a promise of some future harm or injury. So na-intimidate ka, no? So pag once na-intimidate ka, once na nagkaroon ka ng anxiety or nagkaroon ka ng insecurity, that is a very important, no? For the crime of grave threats to be filed against that person. Aggravating circumstances, if made in writing or through a middleman. Okay, so mag-aggravate yung crime of grave threat once it was used by means of paper, writing, newspaper, or to a middleman. Okay, so Article 284, which is banned for good behavior, may be imposed. Okay, so we have here question and answer. Does blackmailing constitute what crime? So it is a crime of light threat under Article 283. So if there is no threat to publish any libelous or slanderous matter against the offended party, if there is such a threat to make a slanderous or libelous publication against the offended party, the crime will be one of libel, no, which is penalized under Article 356. For example, a person threatens to expose the affairs of a married man if the latter does not give him money, then there is intimidation done under a demand. Okay. So let's proceed to grave coercions. So grave coercions, the elements that a person prevented another from doing something or not to do something against his will, be it right or wrong. That the prevention or compulsion be effected by violence of force, as would produce intimidation and control the will. That the person that restrained the will and liberty by another had not the authority of law or the right to do so, or in other words, that the restraint shall not be made under authority of law or in the exercise of any lawful right. So what are the acts punished? It is the preventing another by means of violence, threats, or intimidation from doing something not prohibited by law. So ito class, preventing another. Okay? Pine-prevent mo ang isang tao by means of violence, threats, or intimidation from doing something not prohibited by law. O kaya, compelling another, no? Yung una kasi from you're preventing that person from doing something which is not prohibited by law. Yung number 2 naman is compelling, fino-force mo, pinipresa mo isang tao by means of violence, stress, or intimidation to do something against his will, whether it be right or wrong. So in grave coercion class, the act of preventing by force must be made at the time when he was doing or was about to do the act to be prevented. So grave coercion arises only if the act which the offender prevented another when it is prohibited by law or ordinance. Okay. So remember class, in grave coercion, preventing another by means of violence, stress, or intimidation from doing something. And the other kind is compelling another by means of violence, stress, or intimidation to do something against his will. No? Labag sa kalooban mo pero fino-force ka, no? Kino-compel ka na gawin ang isang bagay. So let's take a look at this illustration. Okay, so let's take a look at this illustration. So compelling the debtor to deliver some of his properties to pay a creditor will amount to coercion. Although the creditor may have the right to collect payment from the debtor, even if the obligation is long overdue. Ibig sabihin kasi yung kaso ng nagpautang at yung umutang, no? Hindi pwedeng pilitin yung umutang. Hindi mo pwedeng pilitin, no? Hindi mo pwedeng pilitin yung umutang, ibigay niya sa iyo yung for example, yung motor niya, yung mga valuables niya sa iyo, no? You cannot compel that person, cannot compel that debtor to deliver those objects to you. Kahit na meron ka namang karapatan na maningil, kahit may karapatan ka sa kanya, kasi nga ay umutang siya sa iyo. Okay? Next, the violence employed in grave coercion must be immediate, actual, or imminent. Okay. So in the absence of actual or imminent force or violence, coercion is not committed. So the essence of coercion is an attack on individual liberty. So the physical violence is exerted to, number 1, to prevent a person from doing something he wants to do. And number 2, compel him to do something he does not want to do. So let's take a look at this illustration. If a man compels another to show the contents of the latter's pocket and takes the wallet, this is robbery and not grave coercion. Kasi class sa robbery, usually, na-absorb na ang pananakot. Di ba? So, na-absorb na ang pananakot at yung pamimilit. Di ba? For example, na-hold up ka sa daanan. Okay, so the hold-upper is compelling you to give your wallet or your cell phone, di ba? So, if that hold-upper is arrested, no, ang kaso lang niya class ay robbery. What happens to the grave coercion o yung pamimilit at pananakot niya sa iyo? It is already absorbed in the crime of robbery. Okay, so lagi niyong tatandaan yung class. So Article 287, light coercions. So in light coercions, the offender must be a creditor. That he seizes anything belonging to his debtor. Number 3, the seizure of the thing be accomplished by means of violence or a display of material force producing intimidation. Then number 4, that the purpose of the offender is to apply the same to the payment of the debt. Okay, so for example, you are a creditor, no? At meron kang pinangutangan. Then, pinuwersa mo na kinuha yung mga ari-arian ng debtor para lamang, okay, so pinuwersa mo na kunin yung mga ari-arian ng debtor mo upang makabayad lamang siya doon sa mga utang niya sa iyo. And doon sa pagkuha mo ng mga ari-arian niya, there is violence or there is display of material force which produces intimidation. Okay. So, ang purpose ng pagkuha mo ng mga ari-arian niya ay dahil upang makabayad lamang, no? Upang mabayaran niya yung mga utang niya sa iyo. Although yun ay pinagbabawal class ng batas, no? Yung kukunin mo yung mga ari-arian ng debtor mo upang mabayaran lamang niya. Ano? So mas maganda class na antayin na lang natin na yung ating yung umutang sa atin na siya mismo ang magbayad kaysa naman yung tayo ang pupunta doon sa bahay nila upang kunin kung ano man yung mga bagay na meron pang value, no? Although although napaka pangit naman kasi, no, na meron kasi mga tao na hindi nagbabayad ng utang, no? Kahit na nakailang demand na tayo, nakailang sabi na tayo na, oh, magbayad ka na ng utang mo, ganyan-ganyan, no? Eh, umutang, oh, yes naman ng yes, no? Pero hindi pa rin talaga nagbabayad ng utang. So, ano bang gagawin natin? So, hindi kasi natin pwedeng ilagay sa ating mga kamay, no, ang batas. So, pag ganun class, mas maganda na kumuha tayo ng tulong sa korte at yung korte na mismo ang maniningil sa kanila. Okay. Etong unjust vexation class, I think narinig niyo na to. So, in unjust vexation, it is any act committed without violence, but which unjustifiably annoys or vexes an innocent person, which amounts to like coercion. Pag sinabi natin annoys or vexes, ibig sabihin na yung ginagawa mo nagkokos ng o kaya nakakairita sa isang tao. Yung ginagawa mo ay nagkokos ng irritation o kaya annoyances doon sa isang tao. So ito class ang tinatawag natin na unjust vexation. As a punishable act, unjust vexation should include any human conduct which, although not productive of some physical or material harm, would, however, unjustifiably annoy or vex an innocent person. So it is distinguished from grave coercion under the first paragraph by the absence of violence. So ano ba yung example ng unjust vexation? For example, person stoning someone else house. For example, binabato yung bahay mo, no? Para which causes annoyance or which causes irritation, no? Pero yung pambabato naman, no, does not amount to serious, no? Uh, ang dahilan lang bakit binato yung bahay mo is for them to disturb you or disturb your peace of mind, no? So the crime of unjust vexation is committed. Okay, so this is the end of our part 2 lecture, no? So just stand by for the last part, no, yung ating part 3 of the for the continuation of our lecture in Criminal Law Book 2. Okay guys, see you and thank you.